Welcome back, everybody. This is Tucker. Let's talk weather. I'm tracking a multi-day severe weather outbreak, and this does include hazards like tornadoes. I'll break it down and keep you ahead of it. And we're in the midst of our first real heat wave. I'll tell you where those temps in the 90s and beyond are headed next. Good to see you all again, guys. We're continuing our conversation from the last several updates about a big-time severe weather threat as we move into the middle days of May. That said, the weather's actually been quite nice across the U.S., other than the heat that we've seen across the central and southwest, and of course the storms in the southeast. That said, our next big player is already on the map out here in the northwestern U.S., and this cluster of rain and clouds is going to rapidly develop into that next big weather maker, with severe storms expected between May 14th and 17th. So, as always, I'm going to give you my thoughts on the forecast, and we're going to keep you one step ahead. So where is this severe weather threat, and what should you expect? We're going to start here on Wednesday. And again, last Tuesday, I was telling you about this portion of the country being in line for severe weather. So if you're looking for someone who's going to keep you ahead of the game, this is a good place to subscribe. Just had to get that out of the way because I'm proud of that forecast. But just wanted to show you here, we got a level 2 severe weather risk in a pretty narrow area on the night of Wednesday into Thursday. This will be more overnight, and you'll see when we get to timing here in a moment. And I'm expecting this is largely going to be a wind and hail threat. And again, just hang on a minute, we'll get into the details here on our future cast. But this threat continues moving to the east, and on Thursday, I expect we may have a level 3, possibly a level 4 severe weather threat here, primarily across portions of the Midwest and Great Lakes, and you can see this area highlighted as a level 2 risk already. That will expand. I do have concern about this day on Thursday. And continuing into Friday, we already have another area highlighted right here for a severe weather risk. This is just a level 2 threat, but I also expect it'll be upgraded to level 3. And even Saturday, while you aren't seeing it in the official forecasts yet, I am expecting severe storms, so let's get into those details. Hey, by the way, guys, let me know where you're watching from and what kind of weather you're experiencing, and if you have any weather questions, just drop them in the comments. I love weather, I love talking weather, and yeah, I love interacting and helping you guys out. So let's get into it now, and this right here, guys, is why we have a severe weather threat. Super interesting stuff, and what you're seeing is the jet stream, and more or less, you got two things going on here. One, you can see those brighter colors showing up. That tells you there's a lot of wind energy, one of the two main pieces for storms. And when you have this dip in the jet stream, that tells you there's some colder air higher up in the atmosphere out here, and that's necessary for instability. That's the second piece of a severe weather recipe. So here on Wednesday, you can see we have the jet moving northwards with plenty of energy in the north central US. You know, it's not overpowering, but there's enough there certainly for us to kickstart this severe weather threat. It's as we head into Thursday that I have much more concern, as I mentioned before. And what you're seeing here is our low pressure system becoming a bit more closed off. And that tells me there's going to be quite a bit of spin in the atmosphere. Once you get those lows to close off, you typically get more. And we also have a lot of wind energy to work with here. And certainly there will be instability as well. So that is why I'm most concerned about the Thursday risk from Wisconsin down to Kentucky and really across a good chunk of that region. Now on Friday, we have this severe weather threat continuing to spread farther south and east. Still a lot of wind energy, but I don't believe we're going to have the instability up here. So that's why I expect this portion of the country, more so the mid-south and even portions of the mid-Atlantic and south, will be facing severe storms. And honestly, Saturday, I still believe we have the threat for severe weather to continue as it reaches the southeastern U.S., kind of closer to the coastline out here where there will be enough wind energy. But we are looking at what will be a multi-day outbreak, and that is why. And in case you're curious, by the way, next week there looks to be an even bigger severe weather threat as the jet makes that dive south once again. We won't get into that now, but you'll want to check back because I'm going to have a lot to say about that too. Let's get into the timing now, and then we'll talk about where that heat is going to be. But we're looking at the storms now, and if you've been in the southeast kind of experiencing stormy weather, first off, I'm sorry about that. That's annoying. But that system's moving out of here, so after Wednesday, it's gone, and you're all good. But on Wednesday, here are those storms beginning to emerge in the north central U.S. This is largely going to be a severe weather threat in the evening and overnight. So here we are actually already 7 o'clock. Now you're seeing the severe storms pop up across the Dakotas and Nebraska, and you're going to see them move east here overnight. As they move east, they may form a line. Again, this will primarily be a wind and hail threat. And now we're actually already into Thursday morning, so storms should weaken a bit, but they won't completely go away. And a lot of the stuff you're seeing here in the morning may be sub-severe, but now, as we get into the afternoon, you're seeing this really pick up again, especially out here along the front. And that is where we're expecting severe weather, that higher end severe weather, on Thursday afternoon and through the evening. And the biggest question here is how many storms emerge, because right now, I'll tell you, this entire region has pretty darn high potential, but you're not seeing a ton of storms on Futurecast. That is something we just simply don't have an answer to right now. And if anyone tells you they do, they don't. So we have to watch that closely, because just how many storms pop up will determine if we were in a level 3 or level 4 risk. I expect level 3 right now, but if our weather models, if the data begins to suggest it will be more active, I would be surprised if this one doesn't get upgraded to level 4, because that potential for tornadoes actually is quite high. Same with damaging wind and hail. Now here we are on Friday, by the way. This low pressure system is so mature that its front is really curling all around here. That's where we're going to get the potential for severe storms in the southeast there on Friday on the south end of that front. And on Saturday, just because there's still going to be some at least power to initiate storms, severe weather will be possible out here, and I am interested in portions of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast on Saturday as well. We still have to wait and see if we get instability on the northern end of that, but it is something to monitor, and of course, I'll keep you updated. I should mention too, by the way, it's going to be a really windy week, so if you have outdoor plans, just make sure you're factoring in that annoyance. We'll talk about where that 100-degree heat is going in just a moment, but to put things into context, I want to show you our drought monitor, which shows us that we have drought conditions across a good chunk of the north-central U.S. We have a very bad drought ongoing in the southwest and south-central U.S., and we even have some spots showing up here on the East Coast. So not what you want to see going into growing season, and a lot of these places are going to be the ones hit hardest by the heat. I'll show you actual numbers here in a moment, but this tells us where it will be hotter and colder than average. And finally, the heat leaves the west here. So if you're in the west, things are actually going to be cooling off quite a bit. But the north-central U.S. is really where we're going to see some high heat, especially into Canada and in the Texas area as well. That is where the hottest weather will be here on Tuesday and Wednesday. And you can see clearly it's going to be way hotter than average Tuesday, Wednesday, even on Thursday too here. Although the heat begins to move to the eastern U.S. as that storm system actually pushes everything through. And so as we get into the Thursday, Friday, and even the weekend, most of that heat is going to be in the east, and it will not be quite as significant as it is in the middle of the week, but I'll show you temperatures because it still certainly gets warm. And starting off with Tuesday, here are your highs, and these are going to be some wild temperatures out here in south central Texas. 100 degrees or warmer, and actually pretty crazy if you look across the north central U.S. where we're going to see highs in the 90s pretty well into Canada, in fact. So areas being hit by this drought are also heating up quite a bit, and that happens a lot because you don't have the extra moisture in the soil to sort of absorb some of the heat. It all just goes into the air. Now, as we get into your Wednesday in Texas, high temperatures will stay in the hundreds. We're staying in the 90s in the north central U.S. out here. And then you're going to see that system begin to push all the heat farther east. So we're talking 90s on Thursday into states like Illinois, still in Texas. The south, of course, very warm, and that's pretty typical for this time of year. On Friday, you're seeing the heat begin to abate a bit, but it stays very hot in Texas. You're seeing 90s beginning to reach the East Coast, and as we head into the weekend, here's your Saturday highs, becoming a bit more manageable, but still very hot in Texas, and the East Coast certainly going to be warm this week too, but more of a comfortable kind of warm, at least if you're north of DC out here. Meanwhile, the western U.S. is going to be on the cooler side relative to average for a good chunk of this week, at least if you're in the west central and northwest portion of the country. Well, we're going to wrap it here, guys, but be sure to ask your questions in the comments and check back for updates. Of course, not just on the storms, but I'm going to be posting a video on visual storm spotting very soon. So a little bit of educational stuff should be really cool. And in the meantime, I hope you stay safe, and ahead of these storms, we'll have an update coming up for you very soon.